Yo, what's up guys? This is Technical Tim here, and I want to thank everyone so much who's been subscribing to the channel. It's like, I think I have 225, 230 subscribers, so that's awesome. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate if you gave this video a thumbs up as well. And I'm here to start my first of a few previews for this, the Hermansen and Jacare card. And I like this card for betting. I think there's quite a good few spots on here. And I'm going to first talk about Glover Teixeira and Cutelaba. And this is a fight I'm going to have action on, and I'm going to be betting Glover here. Currently, right now, at the time of this video, you can get him around like anywhere from like plus 120 to like plus 140, like right in that range as a dog, and I don't think he should be the underdog here. And I think you all are familiar with at least how this fight should go. We know Glover's kind of become like a top game type of guy in his later career. He has legitimately good wrestling and a really good top game. And then Cutelaba he comes from a Greco-Roman wrestling background, and I'll get into that. And he's kind of like a brawler on the feet. He's got the striking advantage, I would say here, although I don't think it's like the most dangerous thing in the world. But the dynamic of the fight, if you're betting Glover, you want him to take this down to the floor. And so I'm going to kind of be talking about that. And Glover, we talk about like grappling willingness a lot. Glover tends to grapple a lot nowadays. So I think like especially if he gets hit like decently hard, he'll start grappling. So I tend to think that's going to be the dynamic of the fight. I don't think Glover's completely outmatched on the feet, but I do think he'd probably lose there. But I don't think it's like a mismatch, and I'll talk about that. So, but if Glover gets his wrestling going, I think he'll win this fight, and I think that's kind of what people think. So I'm going to talk about three things. People kind of think it's Glover winning by getting takedowns, or he's going to get knocked out. So I'm going to talk about three things. First, I'm going to go through Glover's kind of like recent track record and talk about his chin, just like, and maybe the chances of him getting KO'd here. And then I'm going to talk about the wrestling and why I think Glover will get this to the floor, especially if he survives. He definitely will. And number three, I'm going to talk about just kind of the grappling cardio disparity here. And so those are going to be the three main points I focus on. I'm not going to do any clips today because I don't really think I need them to explain this matchup. I think I can kind of just like point out the takedowns, and I think you guys would understand. I don't think tape's all that much needed in this one, even though I tape this really hard. Like I tape this extremely hard to analyze the grappling here, but I think I can explain it to you without tape. But anyway, so first let's talk about Glover and his chin. So will he get knocked out here? That's the first thing I want to talk about. Like, what are the chances? I think it's possible, and if he loses and gets knocked out right away, I don't think it's a bad bet. We're playing probabilities here, and right now he's implied at like around like 45% to win, and I think he should win this about 6 out of 10. I think he should be the favorite here. So if he gets knocked out, that's a win condition for Cutelaba. I just don't think it's as high as people think, and even though it's possible. And the reason why is, first of all, let's just go through who's been knocking out Glover, and like when has he kind of gotten hurt. Carl Robertson, this was kind of a fight where he got hurt in that fight, but it was off Travis Brown elbows after he went up for a takedown against the cage, and it was super early. You see guys get caught and get hurt earlier in fights, like in the first punch sometimes, because I don't think they're like, this might be a bunch of bullshit, and this could totally be unscientific, but I do tend to think people get hurt earlier in the fight than just as the fight goes. You can catch people cold, I feel, because maybe they're not used to your timing, or they just don't see it. But this was just a case of him not seeing the strike coming, because it was Travis Brown elbows, and they were probably illegal, like a few of those shots by Robertson. So I think like that fight, and he recovered well. Like, even though they could have probably stopped the fight, like I don't discredit Glover's chin for that situation. And I look, and Cutelaba doesn't really throw all that many Travis Brown elbows whenever he's kind of pushed up against the cage. He's more focused on actually defending the takedown rather than like striking with elbows whenever you're deep on a double or a single against the cage. He'll clinch strike you, but that's more like uppercuts and things like that whenever you're in a striking, engaging situation, not really him defending a takedown situation. So then he got like tagged a little bit against Serkinov, but not all that bad. Like he was just losing the striking. It wasn't his chin being bad, and we don't really need, like, if he loses the striking against Cutelaba, it doesn't really matter because he can compensate with all that for some takedowns like he did in this fight for Serkinov. The other one was a Gustafsson 5-round accumulation beatdown. I don't think there was anything wrong with his chin either there. Like, I mean, he was just getting outclassed and he couldn't get takedowns when he wanted to because Gustafsson has good wrestling. I mean, Daniel Cormier was having a tough time getting Gustafsson down and holding him there. And then against Cannonier, and I think I'll go back to this. And then Anthony Johnson, I mean, that's Anthony Johnson, and that was also caught super, super early, like I talked about earlier. I think that getting caught early thing might be a bunch of bullshit, but me and this other dude I talked to tend to notice that, and I do think the statistics actually do point to, like, you're more likely to get knocked out early in a fight. But that might be a bunch of bullshit. So don't go hard on me on that. And that's not the reason why I'm like really, it's not a big factor in this fight that I'm relying on to pick Glover. So if you see, he really hasn't been knocked out all that like in an alarming way. It was like an accumulation beatdown, and then Anthony Johnson, and then Carl Robertson was just kind of like whatever. Like Travis Brown elbows, they're kind of just like random, and most people don't throw them anyway, and Cutelaba doesn't really throw them. So I want to say I don't think his chin's gone. And also, what type of strikers have been hurting him? So Travis Brown elbows, and those aren't really types of strikes I think we have to worry about here. But then you got Gustafsson, he's like a pinpoint sniper type of striker, and then AJ's like a really heavy hitter and super accurate and really fast. Cutelaba kind of reminds me a little bit more of a Cannonier in the fact that he's kind of like a brawler. He doesn't have like he has to kind of be in close quarters, and Cannonier kept trying to get into close with Glover, and Glover does good at like avoiding brawlers and kind of getting away. And I think it's more the people just who have a really big speed advantage and have a really good understanding of a range that have been hitting Glover clean. I don't think a brawler. Serkinov did a little bit, but even then it wasn't too bad, and he kind of moves away well. And I just don't think Cutelaba is all that likely to get a knockout here, because I don't think especially, it could happen, I just don't think it's as likely as the odds indicate. Because, like I talked about, one, I do not think Glover's chin is nearly as bad as people think. And two, I don't think Cutelaba is the type of guy to catch Glover consistently, because he kind of brawls, and that's something we've seen Glover avoid those type of shots against people many times. It's more like the sniper, really athletic guys who just are a lot better than him that tend to like hit him really clean. Okay. So there's that. So I just don't think the knockout's all that likely to happen. And then number two, I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk a little bit about the wrestling. And I hear a lot of people talk about Cutelaba. He's a Greco-Roman guy, really good wrestler. Just so you guys know, Greco-Roman wrestling is, in my opinion, out of the three types, freestyle and folk style. Freestyle is like kind of similar to what you see in MMA. You can do anything. You can shoot double legs, single legs. You can do head and arm throws, even though I'd never advise doing that. It's the dumbest shit ever. And yeah, so it's like that. Folk style is really similar to freestyle, except folk style emphasizes top control. And that's the type of wrestling I like, because not freestyle, like Yoel Romero or like some other type of freestyle wrestlers, that's great if you can get takedowns, but you need to be able to hold someone down. And that's why I like folk style wrestlers like Cormier, Gillespie, all these type of guys. Some of these guys, like a Cormier, wrestled freestyle as well, but his roots are folk style. That's what you wrestle whenever you're 4 years old and you start wrestling at a young age in America. But Greco-Roman forbids holds again below the waist. So you can't shoot double legs, you can't shoot single legs. It makes it pretty much all throws, and they don't emphasize really holding someone down in the same way that you see in MMA. It's really just throws. So it's a limited type of wrestling. So think of like boxing versus, in the perfect analogy, but think of like boxing versus kickboxing. Like boxing, you can only throw hands. Kickboxing, you can do more tools. Same with Greco-Roman wrestling versus folk style and freestyle type of wrestling. So Cutelaba just has like a limited type of wrestling, and I don't think it's all that good either. If you look at his fights, let's go over. So if you had taped him against Antigulov kept getting a snatch single leg, and that's the type of takedowns that Glover will hit those all the time. You catch it a single, it's almost like a high crotch kind of, but not really, and then you dump. You see Chris Weidman do that a lot, and Glover will do it too. And Antigulov kept doing that. And even though Cutelaba got up later, it was more so because Antigulov was starting to get tired, and it wasn't a technical get-up. It wasn't a very good get-up, and it's not something that's going to work on someone with really high-level top control like Glover Teixeira. And then just more fights where I really noticed the wrestling. This was a fight that kind of is important too. Cannonier he like got out wrestled as far as takedown goes in this match, but Cutelaba couldn't really hold him down that well. Makes sense. Cutelaba comes from Greco-Roman wrestling, and he doesn't know folk style rides to keep someone down. But also, Cannonier reversed position at the end of the second round, and he was like sitting in half guard, and Cutelaba couldn't get up. So like I was saying, I don't think Cutelaba's get-ups are all that good, because I kind of had seen it versus Antigulov. He kind of got up by just being like aggressive, if that makes sense. He just kind of like posted off the head and stood up. That's not going to work against a guy like Glover, in my opinion. And then Cannonier, he couldn't get up at the end of the second round. And this is going to go into my third point, talking about the grappling cardio discrepancy. I'll just link it in to this, talking about the wrestling in general here. Cannonier started out wrestling Cutelaba in the underhook battle in the third round. Watch the fight, you'll see it. He started all of a sudden winning the underhook battle positionally at the cage. And whenever Cutelaba gets in those type of exchanges when he's tired, he gives up double underhooks, and which you can put into a body lock as well. Glover hits those takedowns too. So Glover has takedown variety, which I'm going to be talking about in a little bit too. And we saw like how Cannonier got in deep on those underhooks. So I think like at the end of the fight, Glover's going to get really, really easy takedowns if it gets there. And I don't think, because of what I've seen from his bottom game, I don't think he's going to have an easy time getting up from Glover either. And I don't think he'll be able to stop all the takedowns, because Glover has a lot of takedown variety. He's got doubles, which he did against Carl Robertson. He's got snatch singles. He's got body locks, which he got on Serkinov, Glover did. So there's a lot of takedown variety that Glover has that I also think will cause issues to Cutelaba. And it makes sense that Cutelaba, it doesn't really make all that much sense that he can't defend body locks all that well, because he is a Greco-Roman wrestler, but he comes from a country that doesn't have like the best wrestling. So like a guy like Glover can, so it's not that deep over there. Just because he was like semi-accomplished in that country, it doesn't mean he's good. And then, yeah, like I said, he's vulnerable to like single legs and double legs and stuff, because he comes from Greco, and Greco forbids holds against the waist. So he's not even used to defending takedowns like that. Serkinov, what did Serkinov get him with? Serkinov, I I think Serkinov got him with a body. I could be mistaken here. It was a body lock or a single leg. I can't remember totally. But Serkinov also just kind of, he didn't even try to grapple all that much, and Glover will. And when Serkinov was getting him down in the third round, when he got him down, he ended up finishing him pretty quickly with an arm triangle. But Cutelaba just, I don't like his get-ups. He doesn't really fight for underhooks. He doesn't. He lets you sit in half guard, and if you let someone like Glover, who's that heavy, sit in half guard, it's gonna be really tough to get up. He just knows all the counters. So yeah, I'm kind of just talking about the wrestling and the takedowns in general right now, and the lack of grappling cardio that I've seen in Cutelaba, and it was really showed against Cannonier how he started losing the underhook battle a lot, and this was kind of a grappling heavy fight, because it was mostly Cutelaba initiating the grappling, but then Cannonier started winning it once he stopped it more. But I just see like a guy who has trouble against takedown variety in Cutelaba, a guy who doesn't have the best get-ups, and who has bad grappling cardio. Now let's go to Glover, and we won't talk about his chin anymore. We're going to talk about his offensive wrestling. Like I said, he has really good grappling cardio. He showed that in Cannonier, and Cannonier has way better get-ups than people give him credit for. A reason why I played him against David Branch, because he has good get-ups, and he showed it in that game, or in that fight. And so Glover shows good grappling cardio in fights like this against Cannonier. And like he can just get takedowns. His takedowns don't go to shit in the second or third round. They're pretty much the same as they were in the first round. And he also has takedown variety. Single legs, which he showed that against Robertson. He showed that against a lot of different guys. He showed it against Cannonier a lot too. He showed a lot of takedown variety against Cannonier, Glover did. But he also showed a body lock TD against Serkinov. I've seen him doubles up against the cage. He just has a lot of different ways to get you to the floor, and I think the takedown variety, the top control, and the grappling cardio discrepancy for Glover is going to be too much for Cutelaba, and Cutelaba should not be the favorite. He has a path to knock Glover out, but Cutelaba seems to be, to me, he's a little less dangerous as the fight goes on, and I think he's going to get a little tired if Glover kind of survives that first round, because Glover will be grappling a lot. And like I said before, I don't think Cutelaba has the best chance for a knockout early, or he can do it. Like, he definitely can do it. I just don't think it's as likely as people think, because he's not like a pinpoint type of striker. He's more of a brawler, and that's something that Glover has shown to be able to avoid, and that he doesn't struggle with as much. And I just don't think Glover's chin is as shot as people think, for the reasons that I talked about earlier. So for all those reasons combined, Glover shouldn't be the underdog here. He should, good chance Glover actually subs him and finishes him on the floor. I think Glover, like I said, should be about minus 150 or so. I think he should be a favorite here. And it could be more than that, but I see it in the minus 150 to minus 200 range. I think he wins it about like 6 out of 10. And the fact that I got him at an average range around like plus 120 to plus 140, and I was ready for this because I've taped this before, because this is this fight got scheduled again. It was originally scheduled for another card. So yeah, like I said, the value's on him here. He just straight up, he should win. So the fact that he's plus money right now, you all should play him. Not saying throw the house on him. I'm gonna toss I think I got like 1.5 units or 2 units on him or so. Don't toss the house, but I do think he's a really good bet, and I do think he should win this fight. So thanks for listening. Comment below if you have any questions. I'm gonna be sending out Virna Jandiroba versus Carla Esparza preview. I have a good read on that fight. And if you have any other fights you want broken down, comment below, and please like the video. Thank you. Bye.